What's going on, Classic Buffalo family? It's me, Ryan, your friend. I'm here hosting another episode of The Library presented by Classic Buffalo, where we're sharing people's stories. This is book number 11, where we're talking to a friend, longtime friend, longtime meaning 2 years, but this guy named Alex, and he's based out of kind of Michigan, Ohio-ish, like Toledo-ish area. We talk a little bit about growing up in LA, and we also talk about mental health and his deep connection specifically to some people who have been through the stuff. So without further ado, let's take a listen to this solid episode. What's going on, my friend Alex? How are you, buddy?
I'm good, and yourself?
Good, man. It's another day in paradise. Are you like in Detroit, or where are you at?
Kind of in the southeastern Michigan area, like close to Toledo.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense because I was actually on your Instagram and I saw you were like at a Toledo game.
Yeah.
Did you like go to Toledo, or are you from Toledo?
I live in Temperance, Michigan. It's like 5 minutes away from Toledo, so it's like super close. So like any like sporting event or stuff, it's literally like a 15-minute drive.
Okay, so like, is that your favorite college?
No, I'm actually like a big Ohio State fan, and I was actually born in LA, like South Central, so I also root for USC because I grew up about like 2 blocks away from their Coliseum.
Whoa, holy cow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, so let's start there. So you're born in was it just south of LA, like southern LA?
South Central, like right in the middle of it.
Is that like the worst part of LA?
Not really. I mean, kind of where I was at, like the university started moving more and more towards my grandma's house, so they were starting to like clean up the area. But definitely, like if you go like 15 minutes one way, it gets kind of sketchy. So yeah, definitely some rough parts out there.
Did you kind of know people that were a part of that, or were you kind of like you were able to like you could see it, maybe not literally, but like you could see it, but like you just didn't mess with that side of town?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some parts of town that we tried staying away from, like at certain parts of the night, just because who wants to get involved with that? But I actually moved out this way when I was around 10 years old, so I didn't really even have like to be at the age where I could be out during like the nighttime to get involved with that. And my parents kind of tried to shelter me from all
that. Yeah. Okay, so did anything like of significance, happen in LA? Like is that when you like got involved in sports? Because I know you're kind of a sporty guy, but like did you have like a big family, so you spent a lot of time with family?
Yeah, we had a pretty big family. We all grew up pretty much like LA sports fans. So my brother and my mom had gone to like tons of Raiders and Rams games at the Coliseum because we lived so close. My mom my mom and brother actually went to a lot of like WWE events back when there was like Ultimate Warrior and like when Undertaker was first around and Ric Flair. And they also saw like Prince and Michael Jackson and Guns N' Roses there too. So it was pretty crazy. Like this was all before my time, so I didn't get to enjoy any of it. But yeah.
Okay. Did you ever get into wrestling?
Yeah. Actually, like Rey Mysterio was probably like one of my biggest favorite wrestlers.
Sorry, say it again.
Rey Mysterio was probably like one of my favorite wrestlers.
Oh. Okay. So in wrestling, do you just like have a favorite wrestler and you kind of follow? Like I'm not really into the wrestling thing as far as like understanding it. And then you just
like I used to like watch a lot of his like matches and stuff and like the Undertaker, but as I grew up, I kind of got away from it. Like I haven't really watched it that much. I've been kind of watching it at the gym now just because it's on while I'm doing cardio and stuff, and it's just something to like get my mind away from running. But besides that, I really have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. I've just always been curious if people like, I've always wondered, there's like that video of that one guy who like, it's like an abandoned gym and there's like a wrestler speaking and this guy gets really emotional. Like, it was real to me. Damn it.
Yeah, I've seen that.
The
guys at Walmart doing the wrestling.
I don't think it's just like some gym, like it's like almost like a PTA type meeting where it's like an old high school gym and this old guy's just like, it's just, you mean a lot to me and your body is so perfect. Kind of like, it's just really weird.
Yeah.
Like, but anyway, yeah, man, I was curious, about, I know you're like into sports and you're into the sneaker culture, and that's kind of related a little bit, but like, did you play a lot of sports?
In high school, played second and like shortstop and a lot in the outfield. But pretty much when I was younger, I played football, but I really wasn't a fan of it, so I kind of just focused more on baseball.
Yeah. What position did you play?
Second and short and left field.
Oh wow, so you were a utility
player. I was
player.
kind of all over the place.
Did you guys like ever win the championship, like where you had like a tiny trophy and stuff you won?
Or it was nothing. Kind of just like we did a travel team, so it was kind of just me and my friends, and we did it like every summer, so we just like messed around and whatnot. But we didn't take it that serious. It was kind of just more of something to do in the summertime.
Yeah. So what, like growing up, what did you spend most of your time doing, like on a day-to-day basis, other than going to school? Was it like school and then sports, or was it like school then piano, or like hanging out with family? Like what did you spend most of your time doing, like growing up?
So like I used to like play like a lot of video games. So I had to go to school and then come home and play like Pokemon. I always try to catch like the shiny Pokemons.
Yeah.
But more like when I got in like 8th grade in high school, it was like pretty much like go home, go work out, and then do something like related to sports. So we'd always be either like playing football or basketball or baseball.
Yeah. Did you ever get into the Pokemon Go scene?
Yeah, for a little bit, but it was a lot of walking, and I was like, yeah, not a fan of this too much.
I've told people that was kind of how I met, like when I moved down to Florida, like for a job, so I didn't really know a lot of people. It was like how I met people.
Yeah, like
Pokemon Go, because it was happening.
You can network like big time through that. I never realized like how much people are into that. And I'm like, man, you can meet like a lot of cool people through this.
Are you gonna play the new one when it comes out in the fall?
Actually, like getting back to it because I actually really enjoyed it and stuff. I've been trying to get a hold of a Game Boy and like Ruby Red because that was like my favorite one. But yeah, I need to like get back to playing it.
Yeah, I went through and like I rebought like a Game Boy Advance so I could play, Ruby and Sapphire, and then like I just like started getting I got to get a DS. I did like an illegal. This is a great admission of guilt, but I did like one of those like illegal emulators on the computer, so I could like play like DS games or whatever. So I didn't have to just go buy it. But yeah, I'm like trying to like prep for the game in the fall, and then I got to go get a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, those Switches are like sweet. Like you can play so much stuff on it.
Yeah, and I heard the new Legend of Zelda game was supposed to be really good.
Yeah,
the open world Zelda game.
Yeah, I'm like a big fan of the Zelda like whole series too, and Smash is probably one of my favorite games too. So I need to get on there. I haven't played that in forever.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about working out. And I ask this because for people with mental health issues, a lot of times, like working out can be a really positive thing for somebody. What's your relationship with working out? It doesn't have to be a deep one, but I'm just curious if you'd always been like that, and then you just kind of kept that habit of working out, or do you, how do you see working out, like maintaining and just that kind of thing, or like, yeah, it actually really helps me to clear my mind.
So,
what's your mindset behind that?
I actually started working out because I used to get made fun of a lot my freshman year of high school, like because of my body weight and how I looked and stuff. So I started working out, and I always seemed like when I had a stressful day, I'd always go work out, and that always helped me like alleviate my mind. So I think it's definitely a good way to get rid of a lot of stressors and stuff, and it's always helped me feel better. If I don't go work out, like a day, I feel kind of crappy about myself, so I always try to go like every day. But it's definitely helped me build like my confidence, and I've met a lot of great people through it. So it's definitely something that I would recommend if you're trying to find something to like relieve stress or kind of just occupy you for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So did you like lose a bunch of weight and gain muscle, or was it like you like kind of did up both at the same time?
I ended up losing a lot of weight and then kind of like going through muscle. But I've been
Mm-hmm.
kind of like slacking on my diet because I've been eating a lot of like Chinese lately, 'cause my like go-to food.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like try to work out every day, and I'm trying to like maintain my weight and kind of lose some at the same time. So I'm kind of trying to watch my diet a little bit more.
Right. So for the entry level person, let's say like, hey, I weigh a little bit too much. Like what is your go-to tips? Like what's your entry level tips for people, you would say,
Um,
if they're trying to get into working out or they want to lose a few pounds, you
I
know.
would recommend like go ahead and do cardio. Like don't worry about the weights. Like you're not going to lose a lot of weight if you're just lifting heavy weights. You're going to gain more muscle mass than that, and then you're going to see yourself going up in weight, obviously, because muscle weighs more than fat. So what I would recommend is just getting like a good balance of cardio and like lightweight exercises, because that's going to help you lose weight and kind of sculpt yourself at the same time.
What about like for me? It can be not for me necessarily, but one of the things that kind of sucked was like fat. I'm the fat guy. I don't want to go to the gym where everybody's ripped. Like I'm just going to be the fat guy. What would you say to that?
I honestly like I go in there because I used to be in that position too. I go in there and it's just like I put my headphones on. I just listen to like whatever I'm feeling that day. Sometimes it'll be like Justin Timberlake or like Elton John or some music in Spanish, and I just go do what I have to do. And then at the end of the day, when I'm done,
Mm-hmm.
just go home and feel good about myself.
Yeah, you kind of just get in your zone and
Yeah,
blur it
yeah,
out.
definitely that's the most important part. And a lot of times when people like see you working out hard and like see you putting in a lot of work, they'll be like, "Hey, my name's so and so. Like, why are you in here? Like, is there something I can help you out with?" And that'll be like a good network for you to make friends too.
Yeah, that's good. Um, what is the main avenue that you've made most of your friends throughout your life?
Um,
Was it? Yeah, yeah,
I'd definitely probably say sneakers.
yeah. I had a feeling you'd say that.
Yeah, I have like friends like all over the world because of shoes.
Man, when did you get into shoes? So let's go there.
That started my freshman year of high school. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been the type of person that likes to like set myself apart from others. So I did that through my shoes. I always try to like wear a different pair of shoes every day. Um, Growing up, my family didn't have a lot of money, so we would go and thrift. And I found actually like a lot of cool shoes through there. So that's kind of how I got my sneaker collection started. Until I actually
Yeah.
got my own job and started kind of paying for my stuff myself.
Mm-hmm. What's one of your favorite stories that's sneaker related?
Probably when I got my Tokyo 5. So that happened about a year and a half ago. And I had I don't know, like for you or those who like are or aren't familiar with shoes, I had the off-white Air Max 97s, off-white Vapor Max, the white and the black ones, like the second release. And I went up to this dude. I was like, "Hey, I'll trade you these 3 pairs for your Tokyo 5s." And he's like, "Okay, I'll do it." And then I kind of backed off. I was like, "Ooh, that's kind of a lot to let go of." So I actually told another dude because he had Yeezy Red Octobers that I was trying to trade for, and he's like, "Well, trade me these," and add money on top. And I was like, "No," I was like, "That guy over there is like giving me Tokyo 5s, which are more rare than these Red Octobers." So he actually ended up buying them at the end of the Cleveland show. I went to Chicago. He had them. Was trying to charge me like $4,000 for those Tokyo 5s. So then, like at the end of summer, I flew out to LA to go spend time with some family, and just conveniently, like the last weekend I was there was a sneaker con. So I like took some shoes. I ended up trading those 3 pairs of off whites for dead stock Yeezy 110s. In Chicago with one of my friends. I took those to LA and flipped those Yeezy 110s for Tokyos. One of my buddies from Miami was actually at the show, and his friend had those Tokyos, and he's like, "Hey, this is my guy. Like, he's gonna wear them. Like, he's a really good dude. You should do the trade. Like, they're going to a good home." And because he put in that good word for me, I was able to acquire one of my grails. So that's definitely like one of my favorite stories, because it was like
Wow.
such a chase just to get that shoe.
Wow, that's so cool. It's just like one thing triggers. Oh, there's like a name for it that like one thing triggers the next and that triggers that.
Yeah.
It's like one of those giant contraptions.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Well, do you have a favorite shoe of all time?
It'd be for it's probably the Bin 13s. Jordan did this line of retro Jordans based off of like wine bottles. And like the Bin 13s was like one of the first shoes that I saw when I started collecting shoes. And I was like, hey, like I got to get those. And for the longest time, they were at like $2,500, like $3,000. And last year, I was actually able to pick up a pair like brand new for a really good price. So I was like, absolutely, like this is my grail. I got it.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I actually just got one of my grails. It's like the 1948, I think 1908. I think I'm wearing it right now. I got to look at what year it is. 1908, 1948, the London Olympic Adidas sweater.
Oh, yeah, I saw you with that the other day. That's sweet.
Yeah, and I have to sell it because it's too big. I have to get because it fit me at the time, but then I lost 32 pounds.
That's awesome, man.
Like it's huge. Yeah, and that's why I brought up the working out thing. It's like I get that runner's high now, but like I have to sell some of my vintage stuff because it doesn't fit me anymore, and like but I also feel really good, like just confident wise, and now it's just maintenance. I'm basically gluten free now, and then I just work out 3 times a week and do cardio and lift weights and stuff.
Yeah, man, that's.
But anyway, it's just like the grail was like getting something, and it's like, oh my god! But now I gotta go find my next grail.
Yeah, definitely. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. So let's talk about like how can you tell me about mental health and how it's either affected you personally, a friend, a family member, and you don't have to be specific unless you want to, but like how has it affected your life, and whether like on the day-to-day hopes and dreams, how has it affected you or your like people you've interacted with?
Well, as of recently, I've actually lost a couple of friends due to depression. So mental health is something that hits close to home. One of my like kind of mentors, he was 2 years older than me when he was a senior when I was a sophomore. He was like a really good friend of mine, introduced me to a lot of people, like helped me network. He'd always take me from like the gym to home. We'd play basketball and stuff. He actually ended up killing himself a couple of weeks ago. So like I said, that really hit close to home. But it's just crazy because you never really know what people go through because on the outside they can seem like everything's fine. But then one day you just hear that they were going through a lot, they decided to kill themselves, and it just makes you take a step back because you could always ask yourself, like, what could I have done in that instance, or what could I be doing to help people out in the future so that doesn't happen? I myself have been diagnosed with mild depression. I have these times where this just happens randomly, like whether it's like a month or two, I just kind of have this like 2 or 3 day span where I just am down in the dumps, where I don't want to like go to work. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to do anything. So I try to work out as much as possible or kind of try to do stuff that helps me. But yeah, it's just, you never really know how it's going to affect you or others around you. But I always try to do something that like makes me happy, whether it's like cleaning my shoes or working out or talking to my friends, just because even though things may seem bad, it can never be as bad as it would be if I wasn't here.
Yeah, man. I'm really sorry that you had to like go through that. It's that's something I technically haven't had experience with, but it's something. Just the amount of grief and the amount of like the transference of like guilt of like I could have done something, and you just never know, and it can kind of eat you up, and yeah, man, it's never easy to just kind of lose somebody, especially how close that you seem to be with them. What was like? Did you interact with their family a little bit, like afterwards?
So gonna be 100% completely honest with you. I am like terrible at funerals. I'm like terrible at helping people like grieve and stuff. So I haven't had really a chance to like talk to his family or anything like that. But
Yeah.
actually just thought of another instance. The year after I graduated, there was this kid and that graduated with me. One of the sweetest kids you'd ever meet. Like he'd give you the shirt off his back. He like always seemed happy, always did really good in school. And then a couple months after I was graduating, he actually killed himself too. And it was just like, whoa! Like I think he had everything going for himself. Like he was one of the nicest people.
Yeah.
What happened to him that made him get to that point?
Yeah. So how do you process that? You know, and I'm just curious how you handle it, because it's a little different when you also, I mean, it's kind of like, because I started this whole thing because I struggle with it, and I've been admitted to the hospital. So, which a lot of people don't know that, but you know, I've been through the hospital like system. I've had the ideations, I've had the plans, and I've fought and fought and fought, and so I know what it's like. But it doesn't make it any easier when you also have to, you know, when other people are going through it and then they may end their life or something like that. You know, it's just a different ball game. You can still be going through something and then not understand or still struggle to fully understand somebody. So I'm just curious how you are all, because obviously it's still fresh, right?
Right.
But what?
Yeah, I mean, I just try to. I actually have a really good friend that I met through working out. He just graduated from Akron, got a degree as a therapist, and I hit him up one day. I was like, "Hey, you know, I'm going through this," and we had like a good 30-minute talk. And he's like, "You know what? I think you have like a mild form of depression." He's like, "I'd recommend you go talk to someone." Me, I'm not the type of person that likes to open up to people, so I've been kind of like struggling with that, to going to see a therapist. So I plan on doing it. But I've been doing this thing where, like, once a week or once every 2 weeks, I just reach out to like all my friends. I'm like, "Hey, like, are you okay? Like, how are you doing? How's everything going?"
It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to hear you.
I do this thing where like once or twice, like once a week or once every 2 weeks,
Yeah.
I send out like a group chat or just like text my friends. I'm like, "Hey, are you doing okay? Like, is everything all right?" Just because I like to reach out. I've been trying to reach out to them more and make sure everything's okay with people that are close to me and everything. So
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you what your thoughts on counseling were.
yeah, I think it's definitely something good. Like I said, I'm not really a person that likes to open up about things, and that's one of my faults that I need to work on. But I definitely think if you have the opportunity to go to it, I would do it, just because somebody else might have a different perspective than you, and then that could ultimately help you out.
Yeah. I've mentioned before on the podcast, not yet, the episode really hasn't been published yet, but I mentioned that like counselor fit is important. Just like relationships, romantic and platonic, you can have a different style and different chemistry, and it's important to kind of, you can have a shitty experience and then you'd be like, "Oh, I hate counseling," or "I do this or that." But and it doesn't mean that counseling's for everybody, right? But it just, I think the fact that you try things like the working out thing, that's great. Like trying to see if that's what works, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. If you're going to try to go and talk to a counselor, find somebody that like suits you well, because you don't want to be turned off from the good things that counseling can do just because you had a bad experience.
Right. Yeah. What's kind of like a motto or like a phrase or advice that you've gotten recently or over the past that has either helped you, push you a little bit further along? Do you have like kind of a go-to phrase or something that somebody told you that really has helped you?
Yeah, for me, it's the marathon continues. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Nipsey Hussle. But he was killed a couple months ago in LA. He was like a person who did a lot for his community and stuff. But the way I see it is like, no matter how bad of a day you could be having, your life's going to keep going and it's going to get better. You can't give up because, like he said, the marathon always continues. I actually got it tattooed on me just because it means like a lot to me. So I always like when I'm having a bad day, I try to look at my tattoo and be like, okay, like we got to get back on the mission. Like this isn't the end point.
Yeah. I'm thinking of getting a semicolon. Have you heard of the story behind that? Yeah, I'm thinking of getting one of those, which for people who don't know, it's just like instead of choosing to end a sentence, you continue it, Yeah. So I thought that'd be a really cool tattoo to get.
Yeah, definitely.
Tattoos are so cool, dude. Like I saw you had a tattoo of like California and you had like Raiders engraved in it too.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you have some of the sickest tattoos.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Running a little short on time for here, but so I want to do kind of I'm going to do a 5 quick hit fun things.
Okay.
And then we're going to do a wrap up of like a question not a question. It's I'll explain it after. So if you can go back in time and relive any moment in history and you can be there, what moment do you choose?
Probably when I graduated high school.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people expected me to do it, and I was actually the first one in my family to do it. So I see like the reactions on my parents' face from like a third point perspective as I crossed the stage and my name was called.
Oh, that's so cool, dude. Man.
Yeah, definitely a big accomplishment.
That's awesome. And then real quick, did you go to college?
Yeah, I'm attending college right now for business management.
Oh, okay. Cool. What do you want to do with that?
I've been kind of debating.
On your own business?
Yeah, kind of my own business, but kind of debating on what avenue I want to take with that.
Yeah. Okay. It's a process, but hey, man, you're getting more education.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
Awesome. Oh, dude, I just thought of mine. I probably want to see like Jordan, like with the Brian Russell shot.
Oh yeah.
When he like pushed Brian Russell and then just like clutch shot or something. That'd be kind of cool to be in the stadium. Any kind of Game 7 scenario, just be there, like the game-winning thing. That'd be kind of sick. To be on the home team, you don't want to be like on the losing side.
No, you never want to be on the losing side.
All right, what's the first thing you do with $1 million you get?
Pay off all of my debt and pay off all my parents' debt.
Okay. After you do that, what after? What's like the first thing you buy?
I'd buy a lot of shoes.
Okay, yeah. I saw like I think it's like dead stock or even used like the OG 1985 like Jordan sneakers are like either 15 or 30 grand or something like that.
The ones are ridiculous. I don't know if you saw the actually somebody thrifted these. They were like the first pair of cleats that were worn, the Nike cleats that were worn at the Olympics. I think they sold for like $365,000 or something like that.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. I think I posted about that. Yeah. It was like the most expensive shoes ever sold.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I was like, whoa, and somebody found that at a thrift.
Wow. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes. Wow. Don't let the internet fool you. It's really delicious.
Who's your favorite Detroit sports player of all time or LA sports player of all time?
Favorite LA sports player of all time would definitely have to be Kobe Bryant. The man's like my number one basketball player. My eyes, I think he's the best. Here for hometown, though, I'd probably have to pick Isaiah Thomas. Old school bad boys, Isaiah. He was just a tough dude. And I know back in the day, him and my Lakers used to go back at it all the time. So
that's a good answer. What person plays you in a movie of your life?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know. It has to be someone with really good hair because I get a lot of compliments on.
Oh, dude, yeah. Your flow. I wish I had your hair. I mean, being bald now, I'm starting to get used to it a little bit, but still, like, your flow is amazing.
Thanks, man. But yeah, somebody with good hair. Like, they got to get my hair. That's like an important aspect.
Man. What about like Hassan Minhaj? He doesn't have your flow, but he has like really good hair.
I don't know who that is.
I guess. He's like a guy, he was on, The Daily Show, or he was on one of those. Now he has his own Netflix show where he kind of talks about stuff. Okay. He does one on Supreme. You'd really like it.
Oh.
It's kind of like a John Oliver type of show.
Okay, yeah, I'd have to check it out.
Trevor Noah.
But yeah, as long as he's got some decent hair, I mean, why not, right?
Yeah, but he does one on Supreme. He does like a 30-minute episode on like Supreme and like streetwear. You'd really like that. I can actually send you a link.
Yeah,
if you want, but
that'd be sweet.
that's free. Yeah. Okay, man. So this is the last part.
Okay.
You've done like a great job, and so what I want to do is I want you to pick one person, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a friend, family member. It doesn't matter, but you're going to pick somebody, and then you're going to talk about them, how they've impacted your life, like in a positive way, and be as, kind of descriptive as you can. And then you're going to share the episode, or at least tell them that you talked about them, and then they listen to the episode, that part where you talk about them. So,
actually, he just came to mind because I was talking to him yesterday. My friend Hunter Delaney, as some of you may know him on Instagram, his name's Eat Sleep Thrift. I'm pretty sure that's how I met you, through him. But he's a great guy. He's always positive. If I ever need him, he's a phone call away. Hooks me up with a lot of my sweet vintage gear that I got. But we've been friends since high school, and I know if I ever needed him, he'd be there for me. Like I said, he's a phone call away. He actually lives like 5-10 minutes away from me. We've had a lot of meaningful conversations and stuff, so he's a great friend, and Earth's lucky to have him.
That's awesome, man. As I tell everybody, but especially you've followed me for a long time, and it means the world for you to join me on a podcast for 30 minutes or so or whatever, and just to kind of be a little vulnerable with me and support just kind of the raising awareness for mental health, because I think we can really start to do some damage on the suicide numbers by people, just sharing what they've been going through, and you're a part of the positive change.
Thank you,
I
man.
just wanted to thank you.
I appreciate
from my heart, man.
Appreciate you having me and opening up with me too. That means a lot. I know it's tough sometimes, but I love your page. I love what you're doing, and happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you, man.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me. It's great what you're doing. You're definitely trying to help people out, so that's the positives that you want to see, and you do a lot of good things too. So definitely keep doing what you're doing. You're great impact on your community.
All right. Yeah, man. We'll stay in touch. I wanna actually specifically hang out with you at some point pretty soon, because I know I couldn't go out for SneakerCon out east. So
yeah, definitely, dude.
I'm gonna try. You're a drive away, so we need to hang out.
Yeah. I actually just bought a house, or in the process of buying a house.
Yeah.
So I'm throwing a house party sometime in October. So you're more than welcome to come over and stay if you want.
That would be sick.
Yeah. I'll shoot you the details. No worries.
Yes, please do.
I got you.
All right, man. Well, hey, do me a favor and enjoy the rest of your night, and then this weekend.
Okay. You too, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, man. Talk to you later. Hey everybody, this is Ryan from the Classic Buffalo Podcast. Wanted to take a second to talk about Anchor, how I'm actually making this podcast happen. Super happy that I'm partnering with them. So, Anchor is actually the easiest way to make a podcast. I've done my research. This is basically the best way. I promise. It's going to give you everything you need in one place for free, which is the best part. It's going to have tools, so you don't really need a fancy schmancy recording guy. Anchor's going to be helping you out there, and then they're going to distribute the podcast everywhere to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, everything. And then you can also make money with basically no minimum listenership, which is kind of rare. So hop on Anchor as soon as you can. Thanks. We just got done. It's been a long day. I'm still chugging along doing 2 interviews a day for this week. I had like back-to-back calls, and gosh, it's like 11:30. Everyone's gone at Starbucks, and I'm just like editing this episode. But man, another cool guy where I was really happy to finally connect over the phone with. And gosh, he seems like such a cool guy from his Instagram photos. Like one of those guys you're like, oh dude, I wish I could be friends with that guy. He seems like always smiling, always cheesing, kind of guy. And that brings me to a point I wanted to talk about in my debrief was, you have no idea what the hell people are going through behind closed doors. You know, I think I made a post a week ago or something like, this is the face of depression, which was a photo of me smiling and stuff, because a lot of times that's what it is. You just don't know. And people like Robin Williams, people like Anthony Bourdain, Kate Spade, I think that was her name. I can't remember, but just these people that come off as extroverted, positive, everything's happy-go-lucky, you just don't know. And that's kind of scary, right? You know, because it's like, we wish it was just the super obvious thing so we can admit our friends, or we can just be, oh, okay, I need to deal with this. But sometimes you don't know. And we get that guilt, especially if we're close to them, like, I could have done something, you know? And it makes me feel bad because, you know, Alex has to go through that, and you can feel that. Just like, man, he had everything going for him. And, you know, maybe there's something to that where it's like your vision of success and happiness is different than the person's, but it's still like, you know, suicide is such an interesting concept, and how the mind gets to a place that says this is an okay thing, right? It's so interesting how an interpretation, the Instagram interpretation of, oh, this is what I see, and this person has got everything. This person has everything I would want. They should, how dare they? You know, I don't think it ever really gets that bad where, oh my, you know, you get angry necessarily, but some people do, you know, when they think about suicide, oh my gosh, how could they do that to their family? And, oh my gosh, I can't believe it becomes an anger thing. And I think that's sort of a form of coping or grief, you know, using the anger to just justify, to rationalize what the hell is going on. I don't know. And I even struggle to understand my own mind and why I would want to do something like that, because I have had suicidal ideation and plans and before, and I've fought through them. And the times that I have related that to other people, I've gotten a lot of negative feedback saying, how dare you? You know, it's become a part of that was what was really frustrating. Was just the feedback from my support system was more so on how it affected them than on, oh my gosh, how I feel, I'm so sorry that you got to a place where you felt like that was okay. And, you know, in Alex's case, it's sort of like, I wish that, and I hope that he can get to a place where he said, like, I was a great friend, and reality check it. Because I think in any situation that is negative or just that could be a bad situation, fact-checking is very important. A very somewhat loosely interpreted, or, sorry, I'm trying to use words, a loose metaphor would be, if you have an awkward conversation with somebody, like a stranger or whatever, and you're just like, oh my gosh, that was actually kind of awkward. There's two people in every interaction. So yeah, you could have been awkward. They could have been really awkward. They could have been having a bad day. You could have had a bad day. It could be so many different various amount of factors, and it's not always on one person. And so fact-checking is important in analyzing an event of the past, and maybe even when you have a close member of your family or friends that decides to choose that way out, and feeling like you could have done more. And I don't want to overly speak on the issue because it hasn't happened to me, but I can only imagine that it would be natural for you to feel that way, and that you could have done one more thing, or you could have done, and I don't know if there's an answer or a right answer or wrong answer to that. I think finding out the answer to that is a moot point. It won't bring the person back. I think it's focusing on the grieving of the person's loss of life, and then how can I remember them in the most positive way. And then I guess lastly is, can I do anything different next time? But I struggle to even say that because I don't want to. It's not your fault. It is not your fault for someone to take their own life. Minus the very famous case recently where the girlfriend pretty much extremely encouraged that. And I don't necessarily want to go into detail with it, but I think she got charged with like something like second-degree murder. I don't know. She got charged with something like pretty aggressive for convincing somebody who was in a conflict of interest romantic relationship to end his life. And so I think she got charged or something like that. So look at that up if you want, but I guess maybe don't. I don't know. But point being, it is not your fault. In most cases, if you don't cause somebody to do that. Ultimately, it is a choice. It is something you cannot, I don't know. In the majority of cases, I feel comfortable saying that it is not your fault as a family member or support system, that you are responsible for doing your best to love somebody if you are in a strong relationship with that person. Your duty is to love them and to support them as best as you can, and to ask questions of how can I be doing better. And both parties are probably responsible for that. Even the person struggling with suicide ideation or just depression and anxiety, etc., is saying, hey, how can I do better? And to help you. I love the guy, Alex. You're such a positive and funny guy, and I can't wait to kind of hang out, man. You're just a guy that everybody would want on your team, and I'm deeply sorry that you've had to deal with some close people passing away. And I also know that you do have the strength to push through that, and I know that you have the strength to persevere through your own mental health struggles, and to not take the whole world on your shoulders, to continue to run the marathon, to maybe take a water break, to say, I don't know if they have that in actual marathons, but I'm just using your example. Just to walk aside and say, like, okay, I'm halfway through this race. I maybe got knocked down the way I scraped my knee. I fell one time. I got up. We're halfway there. Let's keep running. Just gonna get this water. Let's keep going. And you're a fighter, man. And remember that. I want you to remember the strength that you've had through your life, and surviving and fighting, and the relationships that you've dealt with and the struggles. I'm proud of you for getting this far, and I'm excited for you in your future. And I just wanted to speak on him because I felt like that was the one part I felt like I sympathized and empathized with the most, was him losing close friends. Because that's something I've had. Loose people that I've known, like, oh my gosh, that guy that I used to, like go to school with, or I used to do XYZ with, but nobody that was like close, that was like my mentor or my best friend or something. And losing somebody who's very close to me, the closest person who's ever died was my grandfather, and that was really tough with that was, he was older, so it was somewhat surprising, but still, it's, your grandfather who's, I think he's either 70 or 80 or something like that. And what was hard for me was I saw how hard it was for my dad, and knowing that someday that might be me up there talking about my dad passing, and that really affected me. I've been very grateful and blessed to not really have that and to deal with death as much as other people. I never met my grandma. My grandma was, she died when my mom was 18 years old. So I've never met my grandma. I've always had a step-grandma. But as much as death can be impactful for other people, it hasn't been as impactful for me. The most difficult thing I've struggled with is my own thoughts and my own brain, and fighting myself with depression at the earliest age of, I think, 4th grade. That was like the earliest I start to have these thoughts and stuff, which I will go into detail at a later time. But I think it's important for you to do a self-check of your circle, to double check. It doesn't hurt to double check. If somebody's not doing well, or there's a hint of it, nothing's going to hurt for you to send another encouraging word. Nothing's going to hurt to be like, seriously, if you ever need anything, I'm there for you. doing that kind of stuff might take an extra minute, but I also kind of feel like you can do all the things in the world and always be there, and they could still make that choice. And ultimately, there's two people in an interaction, and if you, at the end of the day, if you were a loving person and you were yourself and you were trying to look out for your friends and your family, and someone makes a choice like that, long term, and maybe not short term, but long term, you have to come to terms with the fact that you did your best. And that should be good enough, because we can't do better than our best. That's what my dad, again, another loose metaphor, but my dad would always say, I don't care what grade you get on a test, as long as you sign your name to it and say, I did my best, that's good enough for him. And lucky enough, I was actually really good at academics, but the point was, do your best, because you can't do better than your best. And, yeah, it's a hard thing to deal with, death, honestly. I mean, I'm not the first one to say that, right? But self-check your friends, be there for them, as be quick to love. Let's that's a good quote to end on. Be quick to love, quick to listen, quick to love. Man, that's a good one. It's been a little hard recently. I'm kind of like doing these episodes, like I'm trying to like hyper ride the wave and like do two a freaking day. And I'm trying to figure out if I do 2 a week, and if I keep this momentum up, do I just do 2 a week, or do I do, I keep doing 1 a week and I just like extend the content out. I basically want to make a year's worth of content, right? Like that would be kind of cool. But I got a DM, and I'll end on this. I got a DM today about someone saying, honoring people who have lost their lives or who have passed away, and talking about their stories, and interviewing people probably similar to Alex, actually, of people who have lost a friend, and talking about their lives. And I think that's an interesting concept, so I might do that in an episode. It's kind of weird, kind of scheduling wise, especially if this episode comes out in like November, if I do something like this now and upcoming in September, because today that I'm recording this is like a little over mid-September, like 18th. So I'm playing with it. It could be an interesting thing. Obviously, you'll probably see it by now, but I'm trying my best, guys. And like I literally just said a few minutes ago, you can't do better than your best. And so I hope this week you'd go and just do your best. Really, just try and realize that you're enough just for trying. I'm glad you're alive. And man, you guys are awesome. You all, every single person I talk to and supports me through this, I love you. And I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you are alive. Have a great week, guys. Bye.